Hello, Richard Walton and Henry Walton from Outsell, brothers and business partners. This is our episodes, our mini episodes of the truth about B2B sales. And today we're talking about pray and spray tactics. Rich, what is it?
Interesting that you said pray and spray. So I think everyone probably listening is very familiar with and has probably tried these tactics. We have over the years. And, to be quite honest, 10 years ago, I think people used to see a lot of success and probably did for a while. What we certainly noticed in early 2023 is that there was a huge drop off in the success of these tactics. So let me, I guess, first a little bit of context. So at Outsell, we help founder-led companies selling high-ticket items in the B2B space. If you spray and pray tactics only work, and I say work in inverted commas because I think there's it's very rare that we hear of any success within the spray and pray kind of tactic anymore. But unless you've got a very large ICP, which I think is a whole other issue for founder-led businesses, I think people need to be very wary of this approach. And the reason I think they need to be wary is for two reasons. One, it can actually damage your brand. We're getting to the point that it can really damage your brand. And the second thing is, which I think is a much bigger problem, is that you will burn your prospects. The highest conversion rate I've ever heard of is about 1.4% with spray and pray tactics. That will mean that you will. I can't do the maths, Henry. You can work it out while I'm talking. If you've got a prospect list of 10,000, you're going to burn through those pretty quickly. What then happens when you've burned through your account list? And your account list should be perfect ICP fit, product market fit, all the things that everyone listening knows about. What happens when you've burned through? You expand your ICP. You launch another ICP. And that goes against everything in building a really good go-to-market strategy and a solid brand and positioning. And it brings in so many other issues in terms of how do you sell effectively and operation and things like that. So for me, not only does spray and pray tactics, do they hardly work anymore, it can build your brand and it can have a severe detrimental effect on your whole business's strategy because it ends up in splintering your ICP.
I think that's 100% right. I think one of the things as well is actually about the effect on, and you mentioned this very briefly in passing, but it's the effect on your product. If you've been building a product for a particular segment and then, pray and spray is just a data exercise, right? As you said, 10,000 emails, cool, you burn through it. What do you do now? Oh, let's go and get 10,000 more from here, 10,000 more from here, 10,000 more from here. And then, okay, you might land a customer, but it's going to be from a different segment. And then you start building a slightly different product and a slightly different sales process and different marketing and different messaging, and you recruit differently for it. And suddenly your company, just as a result of this pray and spray thing, your company starts being pulled in different directions because you don't know who you're building for anymore. You don't know who you're talking to. And I actually think that's often it's a reason for often the declining performance in these channels, because you start off and you're very, very focused. Let's say if it was Outsell, you're like, right, we're going to pray and spray and we're going to go to BDs across the UK. We know the market extremely well. You'll get better performance for it because your messaging will be better, cool. But it's still not sustainable, right? You're going to burn through that data. Then what do you do? Okay, well, let's go after this role. And suddenly you don't know that role, that persona quite as well. They might have the same problems in the company, but they frame them differently. So suddenly your language is not as effective. So you get the performance declining. Then you burn through that. And then you're going after another persona. So, I think it's just a very clear data exercise of why you get that declining performance. And when you stay targeted and you think about how you actually build a relationship with these people and how you strategically hunt accounts, it's a totally different approach. And actually it has the opposite effect. Your messaging, your understanding of that segment, what you say to people, your understanding of the problems actually increases. So one goes decreases over time and the other increases.
Yeah. Listen, I think we have to accept the fact that a lot of people listening to this probably do spray and pray and might still want to continue doing it. I think, just for fun, let's have a go at making an argument for when this tactic could be done, or dare I say should. I'm gonna put it to you
Sure.
first because I need to think of a reason.
Well, I mean, I've seen it work. There's a caveat to this, but if you're selling into very large companies where there are thousands and thousands of employees, you can go and pray and spray, roles where you could. I'm not advocating this, but you could say, well, it doesn't matter if we email them 20 times without replying. It's not actually going to burn our brand. It's just so huge. And the
Are you
people
talking
that
about
you're,
non-decision makers? You're talking about non-decision makers.
yeah, exactly. So champions or even end users. So there was a company that they would just go into enterprise and they'd use pray and spray just to say, we're looking for the person that is responsible for this. And again, the performance was terrible, but they would get replies and they say, oh, you need to speak to X, it's in this department. Sometimes people would even, because they're such large companies, they just go, oh, you need to speak to Richard, and they'd CC that person in. It was kind of nuts. The problem the issue of declining performance, that doesn't change that, because even if you get some performance with that, and I've seen big deals close as a result of that, it's great, you will still get through all of that data. And then the question remains, what do you do when you get through that data? You can't just keep going. So yeah, I have, for very large companies and going in much lower down the rung, yeah, I have seen examples of it work. But performance will always decline and you will always run out of data.
Yeah. So agree with that. I think from my side, I would say if you have got a strong brand, as in people know who you are, or you can afford to buy yourself a strong brand, as in you could combine a spray and pray tactic with LinkedIn awareness ads, kind of multi-channel engagement. So when people get their email, they're also seeing your ads on their LinkedIn feed, on their Instagram feed, pop up on Google pages. So there's that feeling of, oh wow, of trust and credibility. This is a huge company. They must be okay and it's speaking to me. Then I think that can probably help as well. But my guess would be that would probably be for B2B companies selling products or services with a lower average contract value. And I think the types of companies that spring to mind are, B2B software companies, selling seats. I've seen it with, ClickUp and Monday and companies like that. But you've got to have big bucks behind you. And then I think, spray and pray can be more effective.
But I think even then, the big shift that has happened, right, is the ease of access to the technology that enables you to do this is so commonplace now that a lot of the performance that you were able to get from these channels 5 years ago was because, I guess, of early adopters or people that were kind of more savvy and were going first. Now, anyone could do it. I mean, you can go and get the data in half a day. You can upload the campaigns into whatever platform you choose. And now we talk about personalization, which is, you get a AI agent in Clay to be able to personalize something. It's everyone is doing the same thing. So however, I think you always say, Rich, everyone thinks that their spam is special, but ultimately it's still just spam. And that it's just people are tuning it out. You can see it all the time. I think it's harder and harder to break through that noise. So I always, with clients where we're talking about this, if the ICP is right, if there's enough volume potentially, of users in very large companies, and there's potentially no harm, yeah, you could try something, but it's not in place of the other activities. You're always going to have to do the other stuff. You're always going to have a strategy of how you're going to engage with champions or decision makers and how you're going to build and nurture those relationships. So sometimes it can sit alongside and sometimes, okay, I advocate for trying it. if we can learn something from it, great, but it's not going to replace everything else.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much. Hope you guys got some good value out of that. Until the next episode.